Hello and welcome to the GP Pulse podcast. My guests today are Advantech-Innocore's Craig Stapleton. Craig, welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
And also joining us is Intel's John J. Morris. John, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Oh, nice to see you both. I'd like to start with a bit of a preamble. So the story of computers and chips has become really a bit of a global issue. The replacement cycle we've all become accustomed to changed a little bit beyond recognition. You used to replace technology for faster, often cheaper, same cost products as part of an annual cycle. And we used to, this was the kind of the flow of it until COVID hit. And then technology seemed to become precious. We think in terms of stock levels, shortages, shipping disruptions, price gouging, even specific industries in which the sectors, started benefiting the cost from one to the other. And some suppliers also deprioritizing sectors at the same time, which has all led to machines becoming something of a scarce commodity these days. And I'd like to take stock of where the gaming industry is right now, and also ask what follows all of this. And the whole point of this podcast was that to do that, you need to go to the source. You need to go to the creators of this technology used in the gaming industry. And I wanted to start by exploring the partnership between Intel and Advantech-Innocore. I'm interested in the collaboration between your two companies, and to get a handle on that and think about the cycle of the relationship when it comes to continuing to support customers and clients with existing products, but also when you're developing the next iteration of products. How do you both work together collaboratively? How does that relationship work back and forth?
Yeah, so maybe I can jump in. I mean,
yeah,
we've got a very close working relationship with Advantech-Innocore on a number of fronts. I think from the Intel side, we make sure that the relevant people at Advantech have got access to the relevant roadmap information, technical information. It's really just going to enable them to develop products and allow them to get to market in a timely manner.
Okay.
So yeah, I would say that's probably the forefront of our collaboration. That regular contact on technology and what's coming.
Okay, Craig.
Yeah, I think maybe first to kind of put things in perspective, Advantech-Innocore, my team, we're part of the Advantech Corporation. We're the vertical market product division that focuses on the gaming industry. So our job is to design, build, and manufacture technology products, computer platforms for generally our customers are putting our products in slot machines, lottery terminals, okay, and those sort of things in the gaming industry. But we're part of the larger Advantech Corporation. Advantech, as you may know, is one of the largest industrial computer manufacturers in the world. I think we have 7,000 employees and 4,000 discrete individual products.
Okay.
And 2.2 billion turnover last year. So to put it in perspective, obviously, with the size of Intel and the size of Advantech, there's a lot of touch points. There's a lot of contacts around the world and a great many programs ongoing at any particular time. And Advantech-Innocore, our team, we work very closely with Intel in the UK, so John's team. Okay. We also work closely with Intel in the US and a great deal with Intel in Taiwan. And as John says, one of the key things is strategic planning and via the roadmap. So my responsibility is to be planning our next generation products. And so we're what's called a titanium partner. I think it's the highest level of strategic partner that Intel offers for embedded computing partners. And so Advantech is a titanium partner, which gets us really early access to Intel's roadmap, so we can see what technologies are they developing, and more important, or just as importantly, the timing of those technologies. So we can schedule kicking off our products once we select which platforms we're going to use, kicking them off at the right time so we can get our product to market in as shorter time as possible and as close as possible to Intel's launch. Some of the other collaborations that we have, we do a certain amount of joint opportunity pursuit, talking to key accounts in the gaming industry, making sure that they're briefed on, again, what Intel next generation platforms are, the timing of those, and what products Advantech has that packages the Intel chipsets in products for the gaming industry. So all those sort of things are some of the collaboration. And we also give some feedback. So we hear from our customers, from the industry, from gaming, what features are important to them, what new technology, what new functionality, and perhaps what new products they would like to see that maybe Intel has in their general portfolio but isn't embedded. We'll feed that back to Intel, and I like to think that hopefully some of it is taken on board by Intel in their product planning process, and that allows us to say, hopefully, to get the products that our industry requires and is looking for.
Okay, and how does that work in the year, John? How does that flow go from, do you start the year off at a particular point? Is that when everything's happening, or is there certain kind of touch points in the year where, that collaboration becomes kind of really kind of squished together and it's very, very intense, and then it kind of just smooths out, and then you don't need to touch, come back to that point? Or is it collaboration like the same point all the way through the year?
Yeah, it's ongoing, to be honest. There's not, we don't have any sort of, I guess, milestones in the year that we stick to for working together. It's constant collaboration. I'll be, on the phone, text messaging, emailing, conference calls, and then we've also got our product summits, etc. that Advantech-Innocore are invited to. So it's really a mixture, and it's really ongoing.
Okay. So, I mean, I touched upon it earlier, but customer support became really this kind of vital aspect of the client relationship during the pandemic. And a lot of that came down to supply issues restricting the ability of OEMs to create and ship products. This relationship that you have between both companies, how does that play out in the ability to serve customers? So from that customer perspective, what does that close relationship mean for your ability to actually get the components that they need to actually create the machines?
Yeah, I think for sure we've gone through 2 years of very difficult times. One thing I would say on the Intel front, they're probably pretty low on our list of problem parts, to be honest. And I think it's partly because Advantech, we have dedicated buyers for all of the individual commodities that we buy. So there's buyers who work specifically in CPUs. There's buyers who work specifically in discrete, capacitors, MOSFETs, other ICs. And so those buyers are really in close contact with the suppliers. And with the 4,000 products that Advantech has, obviously there's quite a lot of usage, quite a lot of buying power, and they consolidate all of our forecasts across all of our products, not just the Advantech-Innocore. Our factory builds all of our products. So they consolidate those forecasts and can provide the suppliers with pretty good short, medium, and long-term forecasts. And I think that's allowed us, particularly in the case of companies like Intel, where we have quite a lot of buying power, we have quite a lot of usage, and we have those relationships. It's actually meant there's been a pretty smooth supply of products on the Intel side. Now, that's not the case on some other components, I have to say. But Intel's not been too bad, and I think it's partly because, as I say, Advantech does have the benefit of commodity specialists buying the products. We had a great example recently, actually, where I was surprised Intel was flexible enough to support us. We had a tier one gaming customer who was using an older product of ours based on the Haswell chipset from Intel. And we'd gone through end of life on that. It probably started a couple of years ago. We'd done last time buys with the customer. We shipped last products, but of course the customer came back to us and said, "Oh, if we only could get another 10,000 pieces, we really could do that. I think they hadn't got certifications for a certain market, so they wanted to produce the legacy product one more time for that market."
Okay.
And so we came to Intel thinking they would never run a special batch for us. But we were amazed. I think they ran actually 2 manufacturing runs well past the last time buy date and got us CPUs and chipsets so we could keep the customer happy. So that was very good for a company the size of Intel to be flexible enough to support that a manufacturing run after the last time buy date. So we have we've had very good relationships with Intel and very few problems on the supply side, pleased to say.
Okay. Does that work the same for you, John? Is that when that request comes in from Craig, can we have 10,000 of this component? Is that, you say yes, that in stock and inventory, or do you, how does that kind of internally go into the back end of the company? And do you kind of expect a yes from that as well?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, I guess, processes that we've developed over the years for taking these requests in and being able to fulfill customer demand as much as possible. And I think we showed over the pandemic. I mean, I'm really sort of glad at Craig's comments there about Intel being probably not one of the components of part of the bill of materials that caused problems.
Okay.
And I think that's testament to the processes that Intel got in place. And yeah, like anything, part of our relationship with Advantech-Innocore is the medium and long-term forecasting. We feed that into our operations teams in the UK. That goes into the planning teams in the US for the builds. And it all comes together. And yeah, I'm really happy to say that we usually are able to fulfill demand.
Okay.
To do that.
Well, looking at going back to that kind of collaborative side, so John, my understanding of how does Intel create in isolation and then release what it wants into the market, or is the back and forth in terms of ideas and requirements that the gaming sector puts to you, and how much weight do you have in terms of how that works out to the final product as well?
Yeah, so I guess first of all, Craig and the team at Advantech-Innocore are not shy in giving us feedback as to what's needed for the market sector that they service.
Okay, good.
So they do this, that can be via myself, but I think I mentioned earlier, we also have product summits that we host twice a year, and there's an opportunity there for for the guys to get direct input or give direct input into our product teams. And there's product teams that are sitting within our network and edge group at Intel, which is the network and edge group is the part of Intel, the business unit of Intel that hosts our long life product roadmap. So we take that business unit takes all feedback for our key market segments very seriously, and we endeavour to meet customer requirements wherever possible, leveraging our standard products and giving tweaks to those as needed and as fit. So.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely an element of feedback and when we take on board.
So a question for you both. In terms of the technological benefits of working together very closely, how does that manifest itself? And any kind of examples of working together in which you actually change direction on something because it made more sense to do it in such a way because of how you both are now kind of collaborating together? And are there certain things that there'll be examples of in the future as well that are still coming along in the pipeline?
Shall I go first?
Either or before you jump in.
Yeah. I think the way it manifests itself, as I mentioned earlier, the critical thing to Advantech and our product team developing products is the early access to design reference materials, customer reference boards, and early silicon that we get through our partnership with Intel. And that's so important because to maximize the longevity of the product, we need to be starting our product design as close as possible to the Intel's official launch. And so the early access program is usually about a year before the official launch that we'll start getting all the technical design documents in-house from Intel. And that's when we can start, first of all, deciding which chipset, which platform we want to adopt for which of our products. And then we can actually schedule the R&D resources to start to kick off the actual R&D activity, so that when Intel launches the product, we're as near as possible ready with, hopefully the second revision or maybe even production ready product to get to the customers. And that's a timescale that's really contracted over from 10 years ago when we first started doing embedded computing. Companies like Intel, they wouldn't give you that. If you were an embedded customer like us, you wouldn't get that early access as early as you do in the product's life cycle. Fortunately, now we'd have to wait like maybe a year or down the road, because the client, the laptop and the PC consumer product customers would get that stuff first. They bring out their products, and then embedded would pick it up later. But that's all compressed quite a lot, so we get it almost as soon as any customers do. Maybe not quite as quick early as Dell, but we're pretty much on the bleeding edge. And so within Advantech, that allows me to look at the chipsets, look at our products, how they're aging, which product family we want to fit a particular new next generation Intel platform, how we want to fit it into which products, and then decide when we're going to kick it off. And the other nice advantage that I have, benefit of being in Advantech, is we have so many product divisions that pretty much every new embedded platform that comes out from Intel, someone will be developing a product within Advantech. So what that means is I can decide for the Advantech-Innocore products whether we want to be on the bleeding edge and be the guinea pigs doing the first cut revision samples, or more often than not, we'll sit back a couple of months and let another team build maybe a simpler product than one of our gaming products. Maybe they'll the Mini ITX, which is a industrial standard format motherboard that's perhaps a little simpler and less complex than the gaming boards that we produce. We'll let that team work out the bugs in the design. So when we pick it up 2 months later from that sister team within Advantech, we've got a layout ready, we've got a bill of materials established, the BIOS team has produced a working BIOS, and the design is to a great extent bug-free. And that's great for us because then we can be pretty accurate in how quickly we'll be able to bring the product to market, and hit our milestones rather than having to do a lot of debugging. And it's particularly important for ODM. As you may know, we do a lot of custom board and systems for the gaming industry, where we've worked with the customer to come up with a specification, decide a chipset, and then work out the specification with the customer. For those projects, it's really important or really valuable to be able to look at a reference design from inside of Advantech and say to a customer, yeah, we're going to, likely or not, we'll hit the milestones. We'll have first samples in 8 weeks or whatever, and be pretty confident we'll hit those milestones, and also have a bug-free, as much as possible, a bug-free, reliable first cut samples. So that's some of the advantages of both collaborating with Intel and being part of the Advantech product division ecosystem that we have here. It's sort of self-fueling, if you like.
Yeah. Okay. And John, I mean, Craig mentioned that the embedded solutions kind of raised up in priority, and some, it changed from being kind of down the line and a third party kind of priority side to actually being something that you invited into the table early doors. Was that a big change? Was that something that should have been happening? How did that come about?
Yeah. So Intel have always been in embedded computing since the very, very early days. We now call that embedded computing, that group at Intel. That's this network and edge group that I referred to previously.
Okay.
That's a growing business unit for Intel. Intel sees huge potential in that space, with regulated gaming just being one of the market segments that we service with that business unit. And yeah, I think because of the the year-on-year growth over the past decade that business unit's achieved, it's definitely gone up the list in terms of, right, we need to get partners in this space like Advantech-Innocore. We need to get them the earliest access possible to the reference designs, to the technical information, to the design teams at Intel, in order for them to be able to, as Craig says, launch platforms on the latest gen when we launch that latest gen part. And I mean, I think it's I think there's evidence in that with Advantech Innocore having 13th gen platforms launching later this year, so based on 13th gen Intel processors. So yeah, it's that growing business that's allowed us to get up that list.
In terms of the advantage of, again, working closely, John, what's the difference between doing that and just having like a hands-off, deliver and walk away approach, where you've made your product, it's going out to Dell and all these other companies that are out there? What's the advantage of actually working closely with an embedded solution provider and actually collaborating earlier down? What having that year out and then bringing it up and then having a roadmap for this kind of the next things coming on. What's the actual specific advantage of that for Intel?
Yeah, I mean, so as Intel, we value all our close partnerships. Maintaining relationships and partnerships, it's absolutely vital to Intel's business. I describe Intel as an ingredients company. We don't often sell directly into the customers, the end consumers of the technology. So we need partners like Advantech to get our technology and our products to market and into the hands of the people that use it. So helping Advantech-Innocore develop products that are as fit for purpose as possible is ultimately better for Intel. And we rely on Advantech's expertise just as much as they rely on ours to do that.
Okay. I'll start with Craig for this question, but open to you both. What do you both see as the future trends for the gaming sector, and how's it being shaped? At one point, we were all racing towards faster was always the thing, lower price, high performance, greater efficiency. But is that where we're going, Craig? And for John to kind of finish off the point as well, it'd be interesting to know where Intel sees that.
Yeah, well, I guess for the few years leading up to COVID, we were all looking at, internet gaming and mobile gaming and what was going to be the future of land-based slots, casino and resort style gaming. But if you look at the news from the industry since COVID, people have flocked back to Vegas, and most of the casino and resorts are doing very well. So, I think we're confident that slot machines and land-based gaming is here to stay and is not going to be obliterated and wiped out by mobile gaming. But I think that's certainly accelerated or maybe accentuated some of the trends we were seeing before, which is the trend to higher end slots and more unique looking slots. We're seeing all our customers are moving towards the high end platforms from us. They're buying the Core i7 with a graphics card, whereas maybe before they were buying a mid-range, because they're having to push more content. They're using curved screens, another product that Advantech has. We're getting a lot of inquiries right now for curved screens. People want to put curved cabinets out there. That's all being accelerated, I think, by that trend after COVID of people flocking back to the casinos, but wanting kind of a real differentiated slot machine experience. I mean, obviously you want to be playing a slot machine is a different experience from playing Fortnite at home on your console or your PC.
Yeah.
Or
so you have a massive screen. So you have a massive screen and a huge kind of display in front of you. So there's a big,
That's right. They want to provide that player experience that is quite different from what you can get at home or on a mobile device. So they maintain that differentiation. And so that's definitely a trend we see. So I wouldn't say, no, it's not really driving any power efficiency or anything like that, because customers are buying the top end, putting in graphics cards just to provide those sort of machines that seem to be the most popular ones right now. So long may that trend continue, I would say.
Okay, and John, I mean, is your roadmap already kind of mapped out? Does Intel look in like 10 years into the future and know where it's going, or is there some kind of change in flex? And do you kind of look at what the customer trends are and who's asking for what and where, and is the movement, or are you sit on those tracks and that's going to be it for the foreseeable?
Yeah, no, there's definitely feedback taken that affects the roadmap. Yeah, for sure. I mean, with our latest, 12th gen and now 13th gen, one thing, and just picking up on the efficiency, comments that Craig had in terms of technology usage. We with 12th gen we launched the hybrid architecture for the first time. So we've got the performance cores and the efficiency cores within the same architecture. That continues to 13th gen, and I think that was something that will have has come from market feedback, and we've pivoted to do that and offer that technology. And I think that's something that could, could become more prevalent in gaming moving forward potentially, with developers optimizing game application code to run on efficiency cores and then multimedia tasks to run on the performance cores when needed, for example.
Okay, so for you both, what are the opportunities that you both see specifically this year, 2023, and are they technology specific, market orientated, customer driven, price focused? Where do you see the kind of pressure points? Where do you all see the opportunities? And do you also see that supply issues? I know you said that Intel was one of the better or the best in terms of being able to get the components over the line, Craig, but other sectors have struggled, and there still seems to be struggles there. Do you see normality returning at the same time?
Well, to take the point on supply issues first, you're definitely they're less numerous, the number of problems we have, and it's partly because we put in a lot of work to do redesigns, qualify alternate components, sometimes substitutions, so that we have dual source wherever possible. So that work's kind of come bearing fruit now in that, we're not beholden to one particular chip from one particular manufacturer wherever possible. But there are still lots of semiconductors where, it's 500 or 600 day lead time if you place orders today. So
right,
okay. Very, very much our commodity buyers are still working overtime to keep the factory parts in, because you only take one component. It only takes one component to stop building a computer board. Of course, you may have Intel, you may have 99% of the rest of the bill of materials there sat at the end of the production line. But if you're missing just one, you can't run the production. But it's getting better. It is, and our lead times for our products to our customers is like down by a factor of 2 from where it was at the worst case. So it's manageable again, and it's becoming more sensible. As far as 2023 new opportunities, one thing to mention, we're really excited about the new discrete graphics offering from Intel. Intel has come out with discrete graphics for the first time, I think, ever. Not sure Intel ever had discrete graphic products before. They had graphics cores built into their CPUs, but they've now come out with the ARC range of discrete graphics chips. And that allows companies like Advantech to produce graphics cards. So finally, the sort of duopoly of AMD and NVIDIA is broken, and there's another game in town. There's another choice. Embedded World last week, Advantech launched our first Intel ARC A370M based graphics card, both a MXM and a PCI Express format graphics card. So we're really excited to bring that to the gaming industry, because, as I said earlier, a key trend is needing graphics cards and needing to drive a lot more graphics content on slot machines. And so having the Intel ARC graphics I think is going to be a very strong proposition to the industry. So we're quite excited about that. That's a new product.
Yeah, that's something definitely Intel are very excited about as well. I mean, I think if I had to focus in on one opportunity in 2023, of which I think there's probably a few, it would be discrete graphics on my side. Very excited to collaborate with Advantech-Innocore with a new Intel product, and even firmly in our roadmap. So. Yeah.
So how do you compete on that, John? Just the final kind of point. How do you compete in obviously there are already established products out there. What does Intel bring into that space?
I think first and foremost, it seems like we're bringing choice.
Right.
So we're bringing that choice. I think our performance is up there and is competitive. We're working with embedded vendors like Advantech as well for those guys to have their own cards, as Craig referenced the Advantech card. So that brings a slightly extended life cycle on what you get from commercial graphics cards from other vendors. So I think we've got a couple of things that make it interesting.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank you both for taking part in the podcast. It's one of the ones where I often feel when I talk about embedded solutions and get to talk to Intel, that I'm not in a kind of a small B2B sector of the industry. These kind of discussions became BBC News. They got broadcasts around the world about chip shortages and chips and how all this thing was changing. I think it was around us. So I always feel like this is a broadcast that anybody could listen to. Anybody can actually understand the technology and appreciate how it actually affects you in that kind of sense. So very, very happy to kind of talk to the source of all the technology that's coming into the gaming industry for probably the next year of changes and then all the kind of happening in terms of products. I'm looking forward to seeing what the OEMs make of all of this at G2E and all the shows that come up as well. So in the meantime, thank you for explaining your collaboration. Good luck to you both with all the kind of things happening this year, and look forward to hopefully doing another one with you chaps. If it's not in the near future, then perhaps kind of catch up by the end of the year to see what new developments are happening as well.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, Lewis.
Absolutely.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Goodbye.